Pnawn da. Good afternoon, everybody. Croeso mawr I chi i'r sesiwn yma, lle ni'n mynd I fod yn trafod y canlynol. Talent o Gymru, impact rhyngwladol yn ffilm. Welsh talent, global impact. Is there a question mark after that? Who knows? Amanda Rees wy'n gadeirydd Ffilm Cymru a mae dy fi'r pleser o fod yn cadeirio'r panel heddi. Panel arbennig iawn o dalent o mlaen I. Fe awn ni drwyddo nhw gan gyflwyno nhw I gyd un ag yn un felly. Felly ar y pen fan hyn, mae gyda ni Anwen. Anwen Griffiths. Anwen, mi wyt ti'n bennaeth adran gyfreithiol a materion busnes y BBC Ffilm. Mi ti'n gyn-bartner mewn cwmni cyfreithiol ac yn hen gyfarwydd a chynghori ar faterion masnachol a chyfreithiol ar draws y sector sgrin a ffilm. A mae Anwen hefyd yn cyn is-gadeirydd Ffilm Cymru a heddi yn aelod o fwrdd y BFI. Croeso. Diolch, Amanda. Helo. Branwen nesa. Mae Branwen yn gynhyrchydd drama sydd â sawl cyfres o dan I belt, gan gynnwys cyfresu hir teledu fel Teulu a Byw Celwydd, sef yr gyfres gyntaf I ffilmio yn y Cennard. O ran dramau ffurf hir, Branwen fe nes ti gynhyrchu Graf yn 2021 yng nghanol Covid, drama ddogfen oedd yn dathlu, neu oedd yn cofhau 10 mlynedd ers marwolaeth Rei Grafel. Wedi chyfrwyddo gan Mark Evans a fe enillodd honna BAFTA Cymru yn 2022. Ac yn fwy diweddar, ti newydd orffen cynhyrchu ffilm cinema gynta, Effie o Blaenau, sef addasiad o ddrama theatr Carey I ffegnia in Sblot. Croeso I ti, Branwen. Nesaf yn hyn, mae John. John Giwa-Amu. John runs Goodgate Media. He is a producer, director. Goodgate Media is a Cardiff-based film, high-end TV and gaming studio. John's films have won numerous awards at BAFTA Cymru, BIFA, Berlin, and Toronto and Tribeca festivals. And this year, what's been keeping John busy is that his film is in the cinemas right now and streaming in America right now. And if I'm right, John, it's hit #1 on Hulu. Is that right? Fantastic. And that film is, of course, The Man in My Basement, starring William Dafoe and Corey Hawkins. We'll hopefully have a look at that in a second. But the other thing that's keeping you busy is a film called H is for Hawk, which is currently in production or has just finished?
We've just finished. We premiered in Telluride and we've got our London premiere on Sunday.
Fantastic, very exciting. And you've also got a BFI Film 4 thriller being shot in Lagos, Nigeria. So I think we can have a look now at a clip of Man in My Basement. Do we have the reel? Oh, un eiliad.
Mr. Charles Blakey? I have it in mind to rent your basement for a couple of months.
I'm sorry, mister, this house isn't for sale.
I'm only interested in renting. I'll pay you $1,000 a day for 65 days.
Are you okay?
The only thing I ask of you is that you tell no one of our arrangement. What do you say? Do we have a deal?
Yn ola, Celyn. Celyn Jones is founder of indie Mad as Birds. Critically acclaimed actor, screenwriter and director, and nominated and won numerous awards, including 3 BAFTA Cymru Awards. His writing credits include the BAFTA and BIFA nominated noir thriller, The Vanishing, starring Gerald Butler and Peter Mullen, and he co-wrote 6 Minutes to Midnight with Eddie Izzard, starring Judi Dench and Jim Broadbent. Celyn's directorial debut it was The Almond and the Seashore, and his upcoming feature film is, of course, the fabulous Mad Fabulous, which we are now going to play a clip of, Celyn. Fantastic scrapline. And Celyn, I didn't tell anybody what it was about. Would you like to tell us what Mad Fabulous is about?
It is about... Hello, everybody. How you doing? You okay? It's about the 5th Marquess of Anglesey, and it's sort of taken from his story. I'm from Anglesey, and he is the guy who spent all the money. He arrived like a lightning bolt, like David Bowie from the future. He changed an old-fashioned world into a modern world. He lived and he died penniless and alone in the south of France, aged 29. I thought it was a beautiful story about the poor little rich boy, the neglected kid who just wanted love and notoriety and expressed himself through his own self-image and performance. And I thought there was a lot of heart in it, and it was kind of beautiful, and we made it exactly the way we wanted to make it. So yeah, it was a story that was always in my world growing up as the dancing Marcus or the mad Marcus. People said that, you know, I thought it would make a great film.
Fantastic. Well, that's a wonderful segue into our first question. Y cwestiwn cyntaf, wrth gwrs, ydy, a ydy talent o Gymru yn cael impact rhyngwladol ar hyn o bryd ym myd ffilm? So the question, I suppose, and we'll start with you, Celyn, then, is Welsh film having a moment? And if it is, why?
I think it's having a moment but it's growing, it's evolving, and I think we've got to recognise what that moment is, really, before we kind of and make it into something substantial that we can build upon. So I think people have just got wind of the versatility of the country. I think the talent in the country was sort of, you know, has been recognised for years in the crew. And the actors and the creative talent here, but also the versatility of the country you can have, you know, which is a real good sort of, so we're not just a service industry for everybody else. I guess for my, like, you know, the last 11 years, I've watched it, I've been part of this sort of thing where, you know, as a kid, there was this thing where people go, oh my gosh, there was a film made there, and people were so surprised. Or you'd see somebody and go, oh, there was a film, they were in a film, or that actor that you really knew was in a film, and that was the big news. And now it's not big news, it's kind of like part of the course, you know. I think it is a viable industry that's out there. So it is having a moment, but I think moments pass, so let's make a moment into something more substantial and concrete and build upon. That's my thing there. So it's not just a mad summer. It's actually, we'll have generations of kids going, I'm going to go and work down the studios like my mother and her mother before. You know what I mean? I think it should feel like that.
Well, that question about how, if we are having a moment, how do we maintain and sustain it is one we'll come back to. John, is Welsh film having a moment?
It would be weird if I said no. So I think it is, and I think it's the culmination of, you know, a lot of hard work from a lot of people and standing on the shoulders of giants before, and that doesn't mean sound esoteric for no reason. TV has been here for a long time now, and they built an infrastructure which has coalesced with people going away and coming back with more knowledge than they had. And I think it is having a moment, and I think it's taken a long time to build that moment, and I think it's a convergence between industries, with, you know, TV and film feeding one another, really. I think film is a harder industry to make into a sustainable business, I personally found, which is why my business is diversified across gaming and television as well. But it all feeds one another, and I think you can do things in film that you can't necessarily do in television, and vice versa. And absolutely, there's a moment right now, and there's a bunch of talent here who is seasoned and experienced, and you know, and I think that Wales is ready to take a big award. And really, let's be honest, I'm talking about an Oscar. I want an Oscar. I want one of my compatriots to have an Oscar. I want that for Wales. You know, back in the days of Hedwyn, all of that, you know, stuff, there was a moment there where we realised we could do anything. And I think that moment is coming again.
Diolch, John. Branwen, dy ffilm gyntaf di newydd gael ei chynhyrchu, neu ffilm sydd ddim ar gyfer teledu. Mi wedys ti wrtho fi, wy'n cael moment, ond oedd siarad am yr hyn mae John newydd drafod, sef mae wedi bod yn siwrne hir a mae yna dalent yma y myd teledu ac y myd ffilm. I bara ar ti'n meddwl bod ffilm yn cael moment yng Nghymru felly?
Wel, yn amlwg, mae yna stwff allan yna nawr, yn does na? Mae yna enghreifftiau ar y panel fan hyn o gynhyrchwyr sydd wedi cael ffilm wedi gwneud, a mae hynny yn ei hunan yn gamp, ac wedi ffeindio cynulleidfaoedd, wedi ffeindio llwyfan i'r ffilmiau yna. Felly mae'n amlwg, gall rhywun enwi rhyw 5 ffilm ar hyn o bryd, gan gynnwys ffilmiau John a Celyn, a Mr Burton yn un arall i ni wedi gweld eleni, ac mae hynny yn beth gwych. Ond dwi'n cytuno'n llwyr gyda beth oedd Celyn yn gweud, mae rhaid defnyddio'r foment, mae rhaid gwneud i'r foment bara, mae rhaid hirhau yr sylw ni'n cael, fel bod e ddim yn rhywbeth sydd yma digwyddodd darfu a fydd e di mynd a fyddwn ni'n ôl a byddwn ni'n goffa dechrau o'r dechrau to. Dwi yn gweithio yn llwyr drwy gyfrwng yr iaith Gymraeg, felly mae Effie o blaenau yn ffilm iaith Gymraeg. Mae hynna'n fater gwahanol eto, achos waith pa mor anodd yw e i ffilmiau o Gymru drwy gyfrwng yr iaith Saesneg, mae hi 10 gwaith anos i ffilmiau o Gymru drwy gyfrwng yr iaith Gymraeg. Ddyle fe ddim bod, achos mae pobl wedi hen arfer i steitlau, a gwylio cyfresu, gwylio bob math o gynnyrch gydag is-deitlau, ond mae hynna, dwi'n ffeindio bod hynna yn her ychwanegol, ac felly dwi'n meddwl bod rhaid i ni fod yn hyderus, mae rhaid i ni fod yn obeithiol, mae rhaid i ni fod yn benderfynol, ac amdani.
Diolch i ti. Ac Anwen, o'r ochr busnes, os lici di, o'r ochr gyfreithiol, wyt ti'n gweld bod Cymru ar hyn o bryd yn cael moment yn hanes ffilm?
Yes, I do. I do. I've spent 25 years financially closing. We've talked about that quite a lot today already. I think, just to bring out John's point on the convergence of worlds, I think independent film has been working in that jigsaw way for a little bit longer. So that concept of having to bring the deficit finance is something that sits very comfortably, or not comfortably, as they're deferring fees and having to negotiate holdbacks, but it's absolutely part of an independent film producer's world. And I think one of the more positive aspects, I think specifically in film, is that there's just not enough money to go around. So there's quite a sophisticated level of collaboration already through film. So particularly we've already talked about Mr Burton. I think that's been mentioned and name-checked quite a lot. That's BBC Wales. It's also Creative Wales. It's independent finance. You want to talk about Chuck Chuck Baby, that was BBC Film, that was BFI. We've literally right now, we've got Black Church Bay, which is just in post. Again, another collaboration. This time, you've got that as BBC Film. You've also got Screen Scotland in it. And that is really what keeping things going, is that of producers coming to the table, being ready to mix it up like that. And I don't want to second guess, but we are in a crisis moment in the sector, something John McVeigh was talking about in terms of like a proper structural change. So we're looking at different exploitation windows now as well. So it's far more sort of collegiate, I would say.
Well, speaking about us being in a moment of change, I think it's useful to reflect on how we got here in order to sort of plan thereon in. So I'm just interested in how we collectively have got here, but also what people's individual career progressions have been and what the learnings might be from those. So John, I'll start with you. Tell us about how you got here.
I made short films. I was having trouble breaking into, the conventional industry in Wales. Kept on making short films out of my own pocket. I won the BBC Talent Award. I thought that would perhaps get me a job. It didn't. I still struggled to get in, to be honest. I made, a couple of short films after that and ended up migrating from directing to producing. But one of the things I think that I think it's still important now is that I kind of got a film with what became my business partner, Craddock James, called Little White Lies, and Little White Lies made our company, basically. The producer who was on that before me was trying to make it for £500,000, which in film terms, in real terms, that's a lot of money. In film terms, that's not a lot of money. But that was the budget they were told they should make it for, and that is what they stuck with. I could only raise £90,000. So we were faced with the choice of either make it or don't, and I chose to make it. And I remember on that journey, and this is something, there's a whole different range of skills and experience in this room I appreciate, but some of you will experience this. And on that journey, I remember getting a bit of a bollocking off some of the crew for not raising enough money and not being able to pay them enough. By the way, they all agreed to the rates, right? But that was all I could raise. That was what I had. And thank God I made that film. I wouldn't be here today, and a lot of people wouldn't have had jobs and entry points into the industry. So I think, the thing that I'd love to pass on is that, do what you can and don't let anyone's constraints, or definitions or walls prevent you from taking that first step, if that's the step of the journey that you're on. And after that, there'll be more steps with greater opportunities. And of course, I'm in a different place now than I was then. But it's just important to do what you can. Yeah.
Diolch, John. Branwen, pam nawr? Pam I ti wedi wneud y ffilm di nawr?
Well, mae di cymryd 10 mlynedd. I remember sitting in the Sherman 10 years ago, 2015, having just watched Gary Owen's play, Iphigenia, in Splot, and I sort of said to myself, this would make an amazing film, and I'm going to make it. I didn't think at that point it would take 10 years, but it did. And had I known at that point that it was going to take 10 years, I probably wouldn't have bothered. But you never know these things, do you? So that's where the idea came from. Now, I was extremely fortunate because Grav was commissioned. Amanda commissioned Grav at the very end of COVID, and that brought me together with
One of my better decisions, Branwen.
Well, I like to think so, yes. But so that brought me together with Mark Evans, and I had worked with him. He'd been an executive producer on Ryan and Ronnie, which is another film that I made for S4C, which won 5 BAFTAs. So we're very proud of that. Grav brought Mark and I together again, and I mentioned to him that I had this idea about Iphigenia. I mean, Grav obviously was based on Owen Thomas's fantastic stage play of the same title. So Mark was interested in Iphigenia, and I mean, that was key, actually, because going back to S4C and saying, well, it's not just me now, Mark Evans is, he's interested. And I mean, that, names open doors everywhere, don't they? And that opened a door for me with S4C. Fortunately, they had also decided in the last 3 years that they wanted to move into film, and had started a collaboration with Cymru Creadigol, what they're calling it, I think it's Cinema Cymru is the official name on it. Yeah. And the plan is to make a film annually, to develop and to produce a film through the medium of Welsh annually. So Effie was a kind of a forerunner to that project in a way. So after, I'd say, 8.5 years of really, struggling, the stars kind of aligned pretty quickly at the end, which happens often, as I understand. And we went into production in February of this year. Well, we went into production just before Christmas last year. But we filmed in Blaenau Ffestiniog from February onwards.
Interesting that those levers just came together at the right moment, just showing how much pwy mor bwysig ma fe yn bod ni'n galluogi'r pethau na I ddigwydd yn dyfe fel diwydiant.
Ydy, mae a'r peth yw, mae rhaid wneud i'r stwff mae I ddigwydd. Does dim pwynt just ystod rownd y lle yn gweud, o, ni moyn cynhyrchu, ni moyn bod ar llwyfanner yngwladol, ni moyn dangos beth sydd gyda ni yn fan hyn. Mae rhaid, does gyda ni ddim lot fawr o sefydliadau yng Nghymru. Yn amlwg, does gyda ni ddim lot fawr o arian. Ond fel oedd Celyn yn gweud, pan mae'r ffactorau yna I gyd yn dod at ei gilydd, a pan ni'n penderfynu cymryd agwedd, we can, yn hytrach na, are we good enough? Anybody going to look at it? Is it going to work? Hynny yw, mae agwedd fi'n credu yn bwysig iawn.
Rhyw fath o build it and they will come.
Yeah.
So Celyn, coming to you, what's your sort of experience been of making a success in the industry? And I suppose another little question is, to what degree has being Welsh been an advantage or not?
Well, I can't not be Welsh, so it's like sometimes it feels like an advantage, sometimes a disadvantage. I mean, I'd never think of it, really. I think a healthy dollop of naivety and arrogance is really key going forward, because you know the reason, like you said with your film, you got 90 grand, you make the film. Our company was built and set fire to the stars. It was we raised £25,000 buckets of money, and it was like whip round productions. It didn't look like that, but we just went out and did it, and it was kind of the purest thing because it got us doing. So there's something about being Welsh. I don't know. I could only be myself, but for whatever reason, I love bringing as many opportunities and making as many things in Wales and just letting it be visible to the young people and people in the industry that we can do it. And it's not a surprise, you know, it's not a mistake, a blip in the matrix. It is something we do and we do well and we can keep doing. So being Welsh, I don't know, we're better singers, maybe, than other people. But I think what you're getting at is sitting here and hearing, you know, these names are like the shoulders of giants, you said earlier. But, you know, talking Chuck Baby, talking Mark Evans, talking, you know, all these sort of films and names, and Mr. Byrne, they are people that I have worked with, and Gary Owen, you know, going back in 2004. So we're a sum of all parts, really. So I guess the thing is about recognizing this sum of all parts, that collegiate thing that Anwen's saying over there, about if we can pull ourselves together, we can actually really make a dent and make an offering positively to the world in whatever we make in Wales. And I think by being Welsh is that we're up for it and we're kind of all right to get on with, and you know, maybe that's the thing.
Diolch, Celyn. I suppose this is a question for Anwen. Why
can I just add to
yes,
that
absolutely.
one sec? So there's another secret sauce, which all of that stuff is great, and all the stuff we feel in the rugby, and all the patriotism and passion that we feel in Wales is a fuel without a doubt. But there's something beneath that which is actually strategically quite important at the moment, which is they have to move production out of London. Right, so we are in a gifted position that we've got Film Cymru, we've got Creative Wales, we've also got BBC Wales, we've got S4C, and these are all little superpowers that add to us being able to make things, and that's something they haven't necessarily got. Not everyone's got that, you know. So we are in a gifted position right now, and I know nothing's easy to put all of that stuff together. It isn't. But it's more than other people have got, and that's important. And
we have a network of independent cinemas. What are 46 independent cinemas across the country, all connected through Film Hub Wales?
Almost as many as chapels.
Well, there we go. We've got cinemas we go to and cinemas we don't go to.
Sorry, Anwen.
No. Thank you, John. It was. It's an interesting point, isn't it? Which then leads to my next question: why does it matter? You know, quantitatively, qualitatively, economically, creatively, you know, reputationally, why does film in Wales matter? We're used to hearing about, inward investment in high-end TV and the impact and the noise that makes. But what is it about film that matters in the same way?
For me, film in particular has an international voice. So one of the most important things, I think, particularly with Welsh film, is elevating Welsh storytelling, an authentic storytelling that Nick Andrews already flagged, but the beauty as a Welsh speaker of hearing in a feature film flow into English and Welsh just really beautifully and naturally. I think the one things that I sort of quote, I feel like an old hag now. I couldn't work in Wales in film when I first graduated. There was just human traffic. And one of the Talbot Davises got the job as a runner on that, so I had to go to London.
I didn't get a job either as a runner on that.
So I think it's really important, and I forgive me, but years ago I did a project called Apostle, which was Netflix backed, and I just had this incredible moment because you wait all day for the Americans to wake up. You're slightly nervous. You're probably speaking too quickly. If you're Welsh, you're speaking even more quickly. And these Americans just didn't care that it was Wales. They were doing something in New Mexico. They were doing something in Spain. They spotted the Gareth Evans talent, and they were backing the Welsh producers to make it. And I think that translation into an international stage is something very, very specific to film. I think it's easier to travel.
Well, I'm being told that we are running out of time, but before we go to the Q&A, there is one really critical question I want to ask the panel, which is, we're talking about us being in this fantastic opportunity, but what keeps you awake at night in terms of the challenges that we're facing right now as a sector? And I'm going to start with you, Anwen, because, it's all about the models, really.
Yeah, I think we've talked about, firstly, the IFTC, the Independent Film Tax Credit, is incredibly important. But in a sense, actually, it's a make-weight. It's maintained money and budget at a level, but it's not allowing to scale because the distribution models are conflated and collapsing. So financing, finding debt to finance against the value of a film is now quite problematic, I think. And also, I have to say, the loss of other forms of investment in the UK. EIS is the most obvious lack of private investment into film. So what keeps me awake is what's next in terms of, with so much content around, you want the quality to go up, you want the budgets, you want the scale. It's not good enough to support an industry of first-time debut directors. That's a very, very important piece of what BBC Film does. But you want the second and your third film, so it's how to elevate those budgets. And that's the itch at the moment that I can see.
What about everybody else? What's keeping everybody else awake? About film, obviously.
I want to say, having struggled and toiled for 10 years, nothing keeps me awake at night anymore because I'm too tired. But now that Effie has been made, for me now, the challenge is to get it out there, to find the audience, to make it a success. And in that success, hopefully, to encourage people other than myself to want to make films, particularly for me, through the medium of Welsh.
Diolch. John, what keeps you awake? What worries you?
I honestly, guilt. Guilt in the sense that I get asked by a lot of young filmmakers, about a sustainable profession in the industry, and I know the numbers of the constraints of this industry as the movie industry, and how big the big players and how big a slice they're taking of it, and how little a slice we have left. So I feel that, a sense of responsibility of trying to advise people to do the right thing for themselves, their career, their building a family, all of the things you want to do. And, I'm very torn between that because I've got a deep passion and love of films. I always will have. It's probably terminal. And at this stage. And so how to kind of, and I think the way that I've managed it is try to be fluid, to not just be one thing. Try and move between sectors and have, life as an artist, you end up doing different things. You just kind of do. And And maybe that's not a very fashionable opinion, but I think you have to be open to different things because the one thing may not be the only thing for you.
Celyn, what's...
Well, it's sustainability, it's closing the gap between productions, it's keep making sure that the companies and film and people can stay alive in between going to work. You know, I still work as an actor, and I enjoy going to join other people's productions, and I know where the bodies are buried, and I hear the conversations of the people, you know, who are saying things like, I'm going back to painting and decorating, and you know, focus pulling is my sideline and my passion. So it's about creating a sustainability, a real industry that has sustainability. That we're not just excited about the new filmmakers, but we're excited about your next feature. Like you said, the 2, the 3, the 4 production companies being around, because it's magic to take a blank piece of paper and all of a sudden an idea can go on it and it become a film, it can jobs for people and entertainment for people, and we need to close the gap and get into production quicker and more often, and we do that, there's more work for other people, more entertainment for people, and that's what keeps me awake. It is terminal for us all, but it's about runways and cash flow and business, and we have to recognize our value. We can't think of value as the thing we bus in. We have to be the value, because that's how we build projects. So let's make this man the value, this lady the value. Let's make us all the value. Let's find the value in the actors here, in the filmmakers here, in the production companies here, and then they could be trusted, and that's where the money can go, and everyone else can go to work. Otherwise, it's going to be just something that we ship in and ship out, and it was a mad summer. But I don't want a mad summer. I want a big, fucking, loud, mad, fabulous life for everyone.
A sustainable one as well. Brilliant. Diolch yn fawr iawn. I have no idea if I have time for questions. Sa'n gwybod os oes amser gyda ni, ond snib yn twli fi bas. Felly, os yna unrhyw gwestiynau oddi wrth y gynulleidfa, any questions from the audience? Yeah.
Shall I just project?
Would that be okay? I think so, yeah. Diolch.
So it's really exciting having previously heard about television and then what you're saying now about film having more of an international reach. So we're representing sustainability to be integrating that into films as well as TV. And I would love for that to be part of Wales' reputation globally. I would invite you to say, what do you want Wales' film reputation to be on a global scale?
What do you want Wales's reputation to be, filmically, on a global scale for the next 5 to 10 years?
I'd say original. I don't think we should be attempting to produce work that are bad copies of other people's ideas. And I think it takes, I don't know if any of you heard Russell T Davies's BAFTA acceptance speech the other day. I mean, if you haven't seen it, look at it. It's absolutely superb. Talk about, you know, hitting the nail on its head. We have to be original. We have to believe in our stories. We have to tell our stories, because there's no point me going around the place talking about John's story or your story. I need to, you know, start at my feet and tell stories that I relate to, that I understand, that I empathise with. And that sounds very simple, but during the process, I mean, you're so often kind of knocked off course. People say, oh, you can't do that. I mean, I'll give you just a quick example with Effie now. The title of the film is Effie o Blaenau, because that's where we shot it. You wouldn't believe how many people are telling me, oh, you can't call it that. Nobody will be able to say it. That's impossible. You can't say Blaenau. And I'm thinking, well, you know, we all say Tchaikovsky. I'm sure we can learn to say Blaenau at some point. So we have to be really, really focused and determined and passionate about what we have to share and what we have to give to the world.
Diolch yn fawr. I am being told I need to wind up now, so one last opportunity to speak to that. Anybody?
What do we want to be known for?
What do we want to be known for, yeah? What do we want to be known for?
been really busy and really brilliant.
So there's something in gaming, like just as a kind of last thing from me really, which I'm very jealous of. So Scotland have got this little company called Rockstar Games. They make Grand Theft Auto, tiny little company. From that company span out tens of other companies, and Scotland now has got a production base in games that is, on the parallel with the best areas in the world for the quantity and the quality of gaming production. Once you build that nucleus, you start building other things from it, and it's all about collaboration with each other. As much as a producer looks like the head of something, they're really just part of a wider network who happens to be maybe in charge of it for a small amount of time. And that is it, really. I would love us to be known as a tight nation who makes things together and supports one another. It's not a competition, not with each other. We're competing against the world. And I think that, for me, is exciting.
Diolch, John. Mae'n un dod mae'n nerth.
We should sit down and do like a Dogma 95. Do you know, like rules? We should all get together and sit outside in the foyer and come up with our own rules and say, right, what are our rules that we want to offer up? How can we do? Yep. Now that is, and it has to be as radical and as simple as that.
Anwen, mewn un brawddeg, beth licio ti, what would you like Wales to be known for in film in the next 10 years?
I have to say, I think we're already known for it because of the volume of production, but it's just shouting about it more. It's just pure quality. It's, with the support of Eswyrec back in the day in the Welsh language, it's third, fourth generation of filmmakers here. And it's just been confident about that.
Diolch yn fawr iawn. Ni mas o amser am gwestiynau mewn flin dy fi. We're out of time, but just diolch yn fawr iawn i chi panel. Ffantastig o sgwrs, gwych o drafodaeth. Excellent.